The phone rang. I almost didn't pick up. It was a number I barely recognized, a number that, for most of my life, never called unless something was wrong. I stared at the screen, hesitating. Then, against my better judgment, I answered. "Hey, Mom." Silence. For a moment, all I could hear was her breathing on the other end of the line, the weight of 1,000 unspoken words pressing between us. Then, finally, she spoke. "What time are you coming for Thanksgiving?" I frowned. Thanksgiving? Since when did we do Thanksgiving? My family never had traditions. We weren't the kind of family that gathered around the table holding hands, sharing what we were thankful for. If anything, we were a collection of strangers living under the same roof, each too preoccupied with their own battles to notice the others. "I wasn't planning to come," I said cautiously. "I already made plans." There was a beat of silence before she responded, her voice suddenly laced with something sharp, something accusing. "I see. So you don't care about your family anymore." I felt my jaw tighten. Here we go. It had been years since I left home, years since I finally carved out a life of my own, free from the weight of my family's constant chaos. Growing up, I had always been the glass child, the one who didn't need fixing, the one who was expected to be fine simply because I wasn't falling apart. My siblings had always been the priority. Each one of them had their struggles, mental, health issues, chronic illnesses, constant crises that demanded my parents' full attention. And in the midst of all of that, I had simply existed. I wasn't neglected in the traditional sense. There was food on the table, a roof over my head. But emotionally, I may as well have been a ghost. If I wasn't in crisis, I wasn't seen. If I wasn't breaking, I wasn't worth their time. So I learned to take care of myself. I read books, played video games, spent hours alone because there was no one else around to notice me. I didn't resent them for it, not at first. I understood. They had their hands full. But that understanding eventually curdled into something bitter, something I didn't want to name. Now, years later, here was my mother, acting as if we were a normal, close-knit family, acting as if I was the one being unreasonable for not dropping everything to rush back to a home that had never truly felt like mine. "I already have plans, Mom," I repeated, this time firmer. "I can come visit after the new year, but I can't make it for Thanksgiving." Her voice hardened. "Your father is going to visit your brother at the facility. I'll be all alone. You really can't put your plans aside for your mother?" And there it was, the guilt trip. The same old pattern, I exhaled slowly. I had spent most of my life feeling like an afterthought, a footnote in my family's story. And now, suddenly, I was supposed to be the glue holding it all together? I refused to play that role. "I'm sorry, Mom, but I can't." She scoffed. "Fine," she snapped. "If that's how you feel, then I guess I'll just spend Thanksgiving alone." And then, click. She hung up. I stared at my phone, my stomach twisting in that familiar, nauseating way. Anger, guilt, resentment, they all tangled together in my chest. I should have been used to this by now. And yet, it still stung. I had barely spoken to them since I left home. We were never close, not even when I lived there. A few texts here and there, a rare phone call from my mom, always short, always surface level. They never asked how I was doing, never reached out unless they needed something. So why now? Why was she suddenly demanding I come home? Why was she acting as if I had abandoned them, when in reality they had never truly been there for me? I didn't have an answer, but I had a feeling this wasn't over. I tried to shake off the conversation, but the weight of it clung to me. I told myself that was the end of it, that my mother would let it go, that I wouldn't hear from them again until the next obligatory birthday text. I was wrong. A few nights later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't my mother. It was my father. That alone was strange. My father didn't text me. He wasn't the type to reach out, not unless there was a crisis, or unless he needed something. When I opened the message, my stomach twisted into a tight knot. "If you don't come home for Christmas, I'm cutting off your college funding." I blinked. Then I laughed. College funding? I had graduated years ago. At first, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe he had meant to send that message to one of my siblings. But when I reread it, I realized he was serious. He was trying to threaten me. But with what? I replied simply, "Dad, Grandma paid for my college. You never gave me a dime. If you're still sending money somewhere, you might want to check your bank account." I expected that to be the end of it. Maybe a moment of embarrassed silence when he realized his mistake. Maybe even an awkward apology. But instead, his next message came fast, furious, and full of the kind of righteous indignation I had come to expect from him. "You're ungrateful. After everything we sacrificed for you and your brothers, this is how you repay us?" There it was. The sacrifice, the unspoken debt I had apparently owed my entire life. I clenched my jaw. What sacrifice? I never asked for anything. I never asked them to put me first. Hell, I never even asked them to notice me. And now, suddenly I was the selfish one because I wasn't willing to drop my entire life and play caretaker to a family that had barely acknowledged my existence? I took a deep breath before typing out my response. "I'm sorry you feel that way. But I have my own life now. I'm happy to visit after the holidays, but I'm not changing my plans." I kept it short, polite, firm. I thought that would be the end of it. It wasn't. A few days passed. I had almost managed to push the whole thing to the back of my mind when another text came in, this time from Jake. Jake, my oldest brother. The one sibling I had ever thought might understand me. The one who, like me, had spent most of his childhood just trying to stay out of the way. We hadn't spoken in months, maybe longer. So when I saw his name flash across my screen, my gut told me something was off. "Hey, we need to talk." I hesitated before replying. "About what?" Instead of texting back, he called. I almost let it go to voicemail, but my curiosity got the better of me. The moment I picked up, he got straight to the point. "Mom and Dad want to make you one of the boys' legal guardians." I almost dropped my phone. "What?" Jake sighed like I was the one being unreasonable. "You know how things are. Mom and Dad aren't getting any younger, and the boys, they need someone to step up." I could feel the heat rising in my face, and they think that someone is me. "You're the only one who's stable, Olivia." I almost laughed. Stable. That's what this was about. They weren't reaching out because they missed me. They weren't suddenly trying to rebuild our relationship out of love. They just needed someone responsible enough to take over their mess. And because I had built a life for myself, because I had dared to get out and actually be okay, I was now being punished for it. I gripped my phone tighter. "No, absolutely not." Jake sighed again like I was being dramatic. "Look, I know it's a lot, but you're family." I felt something inside me snap. "Oh, now I'm family," I spat. "Funny how I was never family when you all ignored me for 20 years. But now that you need something, suddenly I matter? That's not fair." I let out a bitter laugh. "No, what's not fair is expecting me to clean up a mess I had no part in making. What's not fair is pretending you all care about me when you don't. What's not fair is guilt-tripping me into a role I never signed up for." Silence. For a long moment, Jake said nothing. Then finally his voice came through, quieter this time. "I get it. But they don't know what to do, Olivia. They're scared. Dad's health is getting worse. They're desperate." Desperate. That word sat heavy in my chest, because deep down, I knew he was right. This wasn't just about Christmas. It wasn't even about Thanksgiving. This was about something much bigger. They wanted a safety net, and because I was the only one left standing, they had decided that net would be me. A week later, a letter showed up in my mailbox. Yes, an actual handwritten letter. from my mother. I almost didn't open it, but some part of me needed to see what she had to say. The words were long-winded, meandering, full of the same guilt-tripping nonsense I had grown up hearing. She wrote about how difficult things were, how much they had given up, how they didn't understand why I was being so distant. But it was the last part that made my stomach turn. Olivia, we're not asking for much. All we need is to know that someone will take care of the family when we're gone. And there it was. The truth. They didn't want me back because they loved me. They wanted me because I was useful, because I was convenient. I crumpled the letter and threw it in the trash. I was done. The next day, I blocked their numbers. I blocked Jake's too, just to be safe. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. For the first time in my life, I was choosing myself, and it felt damn good. For the first time in my life, it was quiet. No calls, no texts, no guilt-tripping messages. I had spent so long expecting the other shoe to drop that when the silence stretched on for weeks, I almost let myself believe it was over. Then came the knock on my door. At first I thought it was a delivery, but when I pulled open the door, my stomach dropped. My mother stood there, looking older than I remembered. Her face was drawn, her shoulders tense. For a brief moment, I saw something vulnerable in her expression, something almost human. But then I remembered why she was here. She had found me. How did you... I started, but she cut me off. We need to talk. I sighed, already exhausted. No, Mom, we really don't. She stepped forward like she was about to push past me, but I blocked the doorway. I'm not here to argue, she said, her voice softer now. I just need you to listen. I didn't want to listen. I wanted to close the door, pretend she had never come. But I could already tell she wasn't going to leave without saying what she came to say. I crossed my arms. Fine. Say whatever it is you need to say. She hesitated, her lips pressing together before she finally spoke. Your father's health is getting worse. He's been in and out of the hospital. We don't know how much time he has left. And there it was. The final card she had been holding. The "your father is dying" card. I swallowed hard. I wasn't heartless. I didn't want my father to be in pain, but I also couldn't pretend this changed anything. I wasn't going to let her guilt me back into that house. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, trying to keep my voice even. But that's not my problem. Her face twisted. Not your problem? She repeated, like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Olivia, he is your father. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Oh, now he's my father. Funny how that works. Her eyes narrowed. We did the best we could. You don't understand what it was like, raising 5 kids, dealing with everything we had to deal with. We didn't have the luxury of giving you attention the way you wanted. There it was again. The same excuse. I never asked for attention, I said, my voice sharp. I asked to be treated like I existed, and you couldn't even do that. She took a deep breath, like she was trying to stay calm. That's in the past. Right now, we need to focus on what happens next. We need to know that someone will take care of the family. I stared at her. That someone is not going to be me. For a long moment, she just stood there, blinking at me like I had spoken a foreign language. Then, her expression hardened. So that's it? She snapped. You're just going to walk away? Turn your back on your family? I shook my head. No, Mom. You turned your back on me a long time ago. I'm just finally walking away. She sucked in a sharp breath, her face twisting in something like shock, like she had never considered that this might be her fault. I watched as the realization hit. For the first time in my life, I saw it. She had no control over me anymore. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something else, but instead, she just turned and walked away. I didn't call after her. I didn't try to stop her. I just stood there watching her go, feeling lighter than I ever had before. I was done. A few weeks passed, And then one morning, I woke up to an email from Jake. Dad died last night. I thought you should know. I stared at the screen, rereading the words over and over. I felt nothing. No sadness, no anger, no relief. Just nothing. I thought about responding. I thought about calling Jake, asking how he was doing. But then I realized this was just another step in the same cycle. They would use this as a way to pull me back in. They would try to make me feel guilty, to make me believe I owed them something. I wasn't going to fall for it. I closed the email, deleted it, and for the first time in my life, I truly felt free. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.